How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another ESPN Esports interview. My name is Sleegi, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with McLando. He is the coach of the Pittsburgh Knights, an RLCS team in North America. And McLando, first and foremost, how are you doing today?
It's a great day. I mean, we got RLCS qualifiers later today, actually.
Oh,
So
really?
gotta burst on over to there after this. But hey, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, no, we're excited to have you. And with all that on the horizon, I'll just go ahead and jump straight into things. And
Yeah, of course.
the first thing I kind of wanted to touch on with you is, you've been a coach of three prior RLRS teams in
hmm
Monkey Business, Stromboli, and then also most recently Valence before they were picked up by now the Pittsburgh Knights. How has that transition from RLRS to RLCS been for you, especially now with you being under a more established organization?
Yeah, it's funny because those three teams were all pretty much in almost one season. I mean, we went from a regular season with Monkey Business to promotional with Stromboli to off season with Valence. So I learned a lot about how teams kind of operate just from all these perspectives. I mean, you got three main guys on every roster, so I got nine really solid perspectives from everybody. But the transition from RLRS to RLCS is substantial.
Yeah, I imagine there's probably a lot more moving parts, especially with everything that comes with the organization. And, speaking of
Mhm.
that, we've seen some pretty middle of the pack results from the team so far. And, with that, would you say that you're happy with the performance up to this point or not really?
Well, you got to look at it as the grand picture, right? From last season, from last season, the Knights would have been absolute leverage, which would have been power ranked 14th. That's not the most ideal spot, but in RLRS, that's amazing. You made top four for RLRS, kind of a minor league system, but now you get to go with the pros. So, getting to a spot where we're kind of considered around eighth. I mean, we're on the rise, is what I'll say.
Yeah. And, with that, would you say that org expectations play into your answer there, or is it more just what you're expecting to see out of this team?
I definitely put more personal expectations on myself than any org expectations put on me. I want to win. I always want to get better than before, and we're in a opportunity where that's almost a weekly thing that you can kind of prove that. Where before it was, an entire season. So it's really different now because each week you can go in and kind of show your progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And you speaking of that weekly progress that you're able to show, there's a lot of new games, or not new games, but more games in general that teams play over this new format. And one of the things I was also curious to ask you about is from your perspective, sort of as a coach, just what are your thoughts in general of this new format, the amount of games that are being played, and just the sheer number of teams that are competing right now?
I mean, this new format is just something miraculous. I mean, you have so many game fives with teams that are just neck and neck skill level. I mean, it is just down to the wire who's going to be better that day, and it just comes down to so much preparation. It allows teams to really work for something and show their progress. So I love this new format just entirely. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely allows teams to either, if they have a good start, to try and maintain it, and they have a bad start, maybe work on getting it back without it being as brutal as the last format. But
hmm
with that, is there anything that you would potentially change about this format if you had the ability to just sit there and be like, I want this here and that over there and this?
Mm, as far as changes go, I mean, there's still experimentation. The grid has been an interesting experience just because that's a lot of teams from last season that are kind of competing together. It's more so just scheduling than anything. I mean, it's nothing like too crazy. It's just making sure that everything is kind of at a certain time in a certain location, just to have it more consistent. But all in all, I mean, the format's just amazing.
Yeah, I imagine. And, with the format as well, we're talking on Wednesday. It's September 30th when we're speaking now. And so
hmm
there is that regional on the rise. It's regional number 3 for North America. It's going to be really important leading up to this major upcoming. And another thing, again, since you're the coach, how do you personally go about preparing the team with such an important event on the horizon to get them fully ready for everything that's going to go down?
Well, it's tough because maybe I should have talked about this more when I had complaints about the event, but we don't know who we play most of the day until it happens. I mean, you have stage one of RLCS, you know who your first opponent is, and it's kind of however it goes after that. You got to be ready to play literally anybody. The big transition from before was that you'd have an entire week to prepare for a team, and now you have hours to prepare for about five of them. It's crazy. It's a
Yeah.
big transition. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
And with that, would you say that you still sort of focus on individual teams, or now with it being more unknown of who you're playing each week, is it just trying to focus on the Pittsburgh Knights and then whoever they come across, you're just going to try and use the same game plan with them?
Without throwing all of my secrets into the mix,
Yeah, yeah.
there's game plans for every team, and you just got to get ready for whoever you're going to play. And you have that little bit of time between series to kind of discuss and be like, all right, guys, we've played these guys before. This is what we remember. We have replays. We can go over them. We can really just like solidify how we're going to play because we only have 5 games.
Yeah, absolutely. And the final thing I'm going to touch on with you today is you
Mhm.
mentioned, going over the replays, having game plans with those teams, and I'm assuming that that means you're paying close attention to pretty much all the competition that you could potentially be going up against. And just for fun, I'm curious in your mind who you see as the most underrated team right now in North America, and then also on the flip side of that coin, who you think is the most overrated team in North America.
Oh, you're gonna get me in trouble. Um, I think an underrated team is probably one that goes under the radar for sure. You might have heard of them, Team Frontline.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They have given more trouble to more of these teams than I've ever seen, and they're not even in the grid right now. I mean, they're a team that's up and coming and just slaying. I mean, they're doing everything just perfectly right, and I see them doing really well in the future.
Yeah, I mean, especially with all the opportunities they have. It's actually one I had a couple of ideas of who I thought you might say, but I didn't consider frontline. But I mean, that's actually a really good shout because if they can kind of continue on the trajectory they're at, they can achieve some good things. But yeah, like I said as well, on the flip side of that, who's a team that maybe you think might be a little overrated right now?
I'm just gonna take a stab at the big four right now. I think that Envy's got some problems that need to be fixed. They definitely can, but out of the big four, I'd say they're the least solid currently. They're obviously a tremendous team. They're up at the top, but for people that are trying to break into that top four, they're the ones that are kind of getting targeted.
I can see that though. I think even throughout the success that they've been seeing so far, even they would be willing to admit that there's been some, we'll call them speed bumps, I guess,
Yeah.
along the way. But again, with this regional number 3, it's very possible that the Pittsburgh Knights get to play Envy, maybe an opportunity for Pittsburgh to get a big win and move farther along. We've seen pretty good results from y'all in the regionals. You make it all the way to the quarterfinals in the first one. You at least make it into stage 2 of regional
Yep.
number 2. So I'm really excited to see how you guys play, especially now with the grid behind us for this first
Yeah.
split. And I'm excited just to see how it all ends.
I see some great things happening, but with this last regional and the major, we got about 60% of the circuit points for split one still up for grabs. So anybody can do anything at this point, and it's I don't know. I just love the format, so I'll just say it up and down. I love it. Anything can happen. So it's those who work hard that get the reward.
Get the reward indeed. Well, we'll see if you and the Pittsburgh Knights can get the rewards this weekend. Thank you so much for sitting down with me again, McLando. It's been a pleasure talking to you and sort of picking your brain a little bit from a coach's perspective. And again, to everyone watching, we try and do this every week if we can. So if you have any ideas of people you potentially want us to talk to, whether it be coaches, managers, players, whoever, let us know. What do you want to know from them? And we'll try and make sure that we get that to you. But for this one, that is going to do it for us. Again, my name's been Sleegi. With me has been McLando. And thank you all so much for watching.